In this video, I'm going to show you how to beat the Elite Four in the Pokemon League so that you can take on the champion for your champion assessment test. So as always, I recommend preparing for every single battle as much as you can, and the first thing you should do is focusing on leveling up your Pokemon. The best way you can do this is actually through the Poké Portal using a Nintendo Online subscription to do Terra Raid battles online. At the end of the raid, you will get XP candies depending on the level of the raid. Like this is a 4-star, means you're going to get medium candies and large candies, as you can see here. And you're going to use these to level up your Pokemon. And if I go ahead to my candy screen here in my bags, you can see I can use these to level up my Pokemon and a decent amount, and this is at least to get them over around to 65. I would recommend being around 65 to take on most of the end game, you know, the Elite Four, the champions, and everything like that. The next thing we should talk about are Pokemon moves. Now, you want your Pokemon to have the best possible moves so that you can take on this encounter. So I recommend, after watching the video, have a look at what typings you might need, what moves can help, and go to the TM machine, the green one at the Poke Centers here, and go see if you can make TMs in the specific move typings that can help you defeat the enemies that I'm about to show you. And the last thing you need to know is something that's probably going to help you very much if you do this tip. It's going to allow you to increase the damage and the effectiveness of your Pokemon. And this is by adding battle items to your Pokemon that they can hold. As you can see here on my party, I have a Muscle Band on my Scyther, I have the Specs on my Armor Rouge, a Quick Claw on the Weevil. Now if you don't have any of these in your inventory, you can actually buy them using money in the game. So right now I'm in the school area, and if you go to this little shop located at the bottom left of the Messagosa here, it's called the Delibird Presents, you'll be able to buy battle items that you can put on your Pokemon to hold. As you can see here, some of the items that I already showed you, like the Muscle Band, can slightly boost the power of a holder's physical moves, increasing the damage that I do with the physical moves. So things like these can help you on your team massively to get through some of these tough fights. So I'd recommend not sleeping on these and actually go ahead and at least make sure your Pokemon is holding something that they can benefit from, instead of holding nothing. The first member of the Elite Four that you'll be facing is none other than Rika herself, which is going to be an interesting battle. She only uses ground-type Pokemon. Well, I mean, ground and a mix with something else, but most of our Pokemon are all going to be ground-type. Rika's first Pokemon is going to be a Water and Ground type Whiscash that is level 57. It has a 4x weakness to Grass. It has a lot of HP. Other than that, you can hit it with special or physical attacks. Its speed is pretty moderate, so you should be able to one-shot it as long as you have a Grass type move. I do recommend starting out with a Pokemon that has Stealth Rock though, so you can get this out there and get your Stealth Rock going as soon as possible so that every Pokemon that Rika sends in afterwards takes damage as they enter the battle. Because I didn't have a Grass-type Pokemon, I decided to use something like Fighting, which I know is going to do a lot of damage with the close combat. It doesn't have the defense to take on this much damage, and that was going to be my one-shot kill for Whiscash. Rika's second Pokemon is going to be a level 57 Camerupt that is a fire and ground type with a weakness, a huge weakness to water and a weakness to ground attacks. It's got a lot of attack and special attack. It's very slow. In terms of its defense, you can hit it with either physical or special, though it's weaker to physical attacks but by a tiny amount. So any special water or ground attack will kill it quite easily. Rika's third Pokemon is going to be a Donphan that is a ground type, a solid ground type. It's got a weakness to water, grass, and ice. It has a lot of attack, a lot of defense, a decent amount of HP. It's a little slow, but it's very weak to special attacks. So you can use a special attack that's not even super effective, and it should do a lot of damage. Like I'm using Armor Rouge here with the Armor Cannon, and it should one-shot this because of its weakness to special defense and special attacks. So focus on a special attack, and if you can do water, grass, and ice, it's going to be an easy one-hit KO. Rika's fourth Pokemon is going to be the ground-type Dugtrio, level 57 as well. It's got a weakness to water, grass, and ice. Now this one's very fast. It's a very fast Pokemon. It has really low HP and really low defense though. It does have a high attack, so it's going to hit you with hard physical attacks if it does go first. So I used a faster Pokemon than Dugtrio, and if you hit it with a physical type attack, you should kill it in one go, even if you're not super effective, just because of its weakness. You just got to be careful if it goes first and hits you with a super effective attack, because it might one-hit KO you instead. Rika's final Pokemon, the fifth and final Pokemon, is going to be a Clodsire that is a poison and ground type. Now, depending on the ability of this Pokemon, it may or may not have a weakness to water, but it does have a guaranteed weakness to ice, ground, and psychic attacks. It's very slow, it does have a lot of HP, and it has a lot of special defense. I highly recommend hitting this one with a physical attack. Focus only on physical attacks because it's going to take forever to get this down with special attacks. You're going to have to hit it multiple times. They will terrestrialize it as well into ground type, so you're going to have to double onto the effect of ground type attacks. So focus on water, ground, and ice type attacks to take out this ground type Clodsire with the terrestrialization form. And that's how you can beat Rika of the Elite Four. Good job and congratulations, and let's move on to the next one. This is a quick warning that right after every single battle with the Elite Four, you'll be in a position here where you can stand still, don't walk forward yet. You can immediately open up your menu here and heal your Pokemon. You can reset their ethers for their moves so that they can basically have their moves back. So I recommend doing this so that you can be able to use moves that you used all of them on, and also use antidotes and like full heals or something to get those status effects off your Pokemon, so in the next battle, you're not suffering from the effects of the previous one. And then when you're ready, you can move forward to take on the next one. The next member of the Elite Four is Poppy, and Poppy will be using Steel-type Pokemon that will always be Steel, but sometimes with another typing. Poppy's first Pokemon is going to be a Copperajah, which is a Steel-type, level 58, and this one's going to have a weakness to Fire, Fighting, and Ground. It has a huge health pool, and it deals an insane amount of attack. However, it's really slow, so I recommend hitting it with either your strongest physical or special attack that you can figure out, either in fire, fighting, or ground, because if you take a hit from this, it's going to hurt a lot. Like a lot. Copperajah hits a lot and is not really capable of taking damage from many types, so you gotta be really careful on how you fight this one. As usual, I recommend starting out with Stealth Rock right at the beginning of the battle so that every Pokemon Poppy throws out after this is going to take damage as they enter the arena. This one's really going to test your strength on how much damage you can do in multiple hits. You might have to use potions here to heal your Pokemon if you do get hit, and if you're unlucky, you might get destroyed immediately. So use a Pokemon that has high defense and has high attack at the same time. Poppy's second Pokemon is going to be Bronzorg, which is a Steel Psychic type, level 58. Now this one has a weakness to Ghost and Dark, but depending on its ability, it might also have a weakness to Fire or Ground or not. Like it might not be weak to fire or ground, or it might be weak to fire and ground. I recommend focusing on Ghost and Dark. It has a high defense, a high special defense, but it's really slow, so I recommend hitting it with the hardest move that you can. You will be faster than it. Poppy's aim is to draw out the fights as long as she can while kind of destroying your Pokemon slowly, bit by bit. So try to use your strongest attacks for Bronzorg. Poppy's third Pokemon is going to be Corviknight, which is a Flying Steel type, level 58. This one has a weakness to electric and fire attacks. It has a lot of HP, a lot of defense. However, its speed is average and its special defense is quite low, so focus on a special attack like Armor Cannon again. I mean, Armor Rouge just carrying this whole fight, dude. Just bring Armor Rouge for Poppy. That's how you solve this whole battle. At least for me, this was the case. Just Armor Cannon destroys everything, which is fantastic. Poppy's fourth Pokemon is going to be Magnezone, which is an electric steel type, level 58. This one has an insanely high special attack, good special defense, and good defense. It's a very defensive Pokemon. Doesn't have a lot of HP though. It's got a weakness 4 times over to ground type attack. So if you can use a ground attack like an Earthquake, you will destroy this thing. However, it's also weak to fighting and fire. Its speed is average and its HP is average. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to hit it with the hardest attack you can. As usual with the whole of Poppy's team, you really just got to use the strongest hitting moves and take every single super effective advantages you can here. I highly recommend a Pokemon with Earthquake in this case. I don't have Earthquake, so I'm going to have to try Wing It with Fire. Poppy's final Pokemon is going to be Tinkaton, which is a Fairy and Steel type, but remember, it's going to terrestrialize into a Fairy type Pokemon, which means it's going to be weak to Poison and Steel attacks, unironically. This one has a good speed and a good special defense. I highly recommend hitting it with a physical type attack, either in Poison or Steel, and you should be good. Just keep in mind that its speed is higher than most Pokemon that can do like Steel attacks, but if you can get a Steel attack on that is a physical one, you are going to do really well and take out this Pokemon. And that is how you're going to beat Poppy of the Elite Four. Congratulations, and that was the tankiest one yet, so the rest should be a little bit different from this. Remember again, before you take on the next Elite Four, don't walk forward, press the menu, open up, save the game, heal your Pokemon, like fix their status effects, do restore health, use the ethers again. If you've used moves until you don't have them anymore, use an ether to like restore the PP. Restore your PP for your armor cannon, okay? Before you go into the next fight. The third member of the Elite Four is going to be Larry, again, but this time he's going to be using Flying-type Pokemon. Pokemon that always have a Flying type towards them. Even his Terrestrialization Pokemon is going to be a Flying type. Larry's first Pokemon is going to be a Tropius, which is a Grass and Flying type. It's going to be level 59. This one has weaknesses to Fire, Poison, Flying, and Rock, but a 4x weakness to Ice. Its speed is kind of low, its HP is kind of high, the rest is average, so I recommend hitting it with your hardest Ice attack, and you should one-shot this thing nice and easily. But as always, at the beginning of every battle, I highly recommend you start out with a Stealth Rock to put rocks on the enemy's side, so every time they change Pokemon and put them into the arena, they start out with, like, you know, already damaged health, so they're, like, easier to beat. Luckily, since Garganacl is a rock type, he can do a super effective rock type move that takes Tropius out nice and easy. Larry's second Pokemon is going to be Staraptor, level 59. It is a normal and flying type. It has a weakness to electric, ice, and rock. It has a really good speed and a really good attack. If you are going to hit it, just try to, you know, survive an attack first. Like that, because it's probably going to hit you first if you're slower than it. Otherwise, you need to go fast and be faster than it. Use a very fast electric, rock, or ice type Pokemon to try get the advantage. I just tanked it out though. Larry's third Pokemon is probably a very hard one to beat. This is Altaria, a Dragon and Flying type, level 59. It is weak to Rock, Dragon, and Fairy, but if you have Ice, it's 4 times over strong. So an Ice move is going to make this incredibly easy. Now, since Altaria has a really high defense and special defense, you need an attack that's going to hit it really, really hard, because otherwise it's probably going to outlive your damage and keep hitting you multiple times. So if you have an Ice attack, it's going to be super easy. Larry's fourth Pokemon is going to be Pom-Pom-styled Oricorio, which is an electric and flying type Pokemon that has a weakness to ice and rock type moves. It's got a good speed and a good special attack. Other than that, you can hit it with a physical or special attack. Ice move, rock move, as long as you're faster than it and it doesn't kill you if it does go first, you should be fine. It is going to try confuse you though, like you can see here. It tried to confuse me and make me damage myself, which in most cases actually does make you damage yourself, which feels kind of silly. So do be careful with this one. I did snap out of confusion and was able to get an ice attack off, and once you do get that attack off, you should be able to kill it super easily. Larry's final Pokemon is going to be Flamigo, which is a flying and fighting type. It's going to be terrestrialized into flying, so it's going to have a weakness to electric, ice, and rock type moves. Now, this one does have a moderate speed and a very high physical attack, so you want to try beat it before it beats you, because it's a really fast attacker. It's going to try sweep your whole team. So if you're faster than it and you can use one of those types of attacks, electric, ice, or rock, you should be able to come out on top quite easily. Or if you're lucky, he will use Brave Bird and he will try finish the battle himself. I didn't even have to beat Larry. He beat Larry himself. Larry beat Larry. That's how Larry is, with the recoil of his own attack. Good job, dude. I'll take it. Thanks for the win. And that is how you're going to beat Larry of the Elite Four. As usual, right after the battle, before the next one begins, make sure you pause, heal your Pokemon, reset the ethers, reset status effects if there were any, so that you can go to the next battle with a clean and ready team. The final member of the Elite Four is going to be Hassel, and he is going to be using Dragon-type Pokemon predominantly, and they're all going to be level 60 plus. Larry's first Pokemon is going to be Noivern, which is a flying and dragon type level 60 Pokemon. It has a weakness to rock, dragon, and fairy, but a 4x weakness to ice. However, I recommend, as always, starting out with a Pokemon that can use Stealth Rock, which is going to put rocks all over the field, and yeah, you already know how that works, so I'm just going to leave it there. Now, Noivern has a very high speed and a very high special attack, so it doesn't really matter what you hit it with, either special or physical attacks, as long as you focus on a really fast Pokemon or a Pokemon that is tanky enough to take a hit from this Pokemon Noivern. I particularly didn't have a counter for this, so I decided to keep with Garganacl, which has the really high defense, to try tank it out while I slowly wither its health away so that it, because it hits really hard and it's really fast. Hassel's second Pokemon is going to be Dragalge, which is a poison dragon type that's weak to ice, ground, psychic, and dragon. It's got a really low speed, so you'll be able to go faster than it, but it has incredibly high special defense, special attack, and a decent defense. So you want to attack it with a physical attack, like I used a dragon type attack on it, which was physical, and that was able to one-shot it from my Garchomp, which is way faster and way stronger. Larry's next Pokemon, his third Pokemon, is going to be Flapple. That is a grass dragon. It has a weakness to flying, bug, dragon, fairy, poison, and a 4 times weakness to ice. It has a really high attack and special attack, but in terms of defense, it's really weak. So you're going to be able to like hit it. You know, it's got a really average defense and speed. So if you hit it first, it's going to go down. Hassel's fourth Pokemon is going to be Haxorus, which has a decent speed, decent defense, and really high attack. If this thing hits you, it's going to hurt. Like, don't joke around. This thing will hurt you if it hits you. It has a weakness to Ice, Dragon, and Fairy, so I just got my Garchomp for the whole fight doing Dragon Claw the entire time to beat every single Pokemon because the Dragon moves are effective against Dragon Pokemon. So that's my strategy here, is using Garchomp. Hassel's final Pokemon is going to be Baxcalibur, which is a Dragon and Ice Pokemon, but that doesn't matter because it's going to terrestrialize into a Dragon type, meaning its weaknesses are going to be Ice, Dragon, and Fairy type. Now, this one has a decent speed, but its defense, HP, and attack is really high. So if this thing hits you, it's going to hit really, really hard. It's got an attack stat comparable to Haxorus, so if it lands with an attack and you're weak to it, or even if you're not weak to it, it's gonna hurt a lot, and it's probably gonna one-shot you. But its speed is like decent. Ultimately, it's going to come down to your strongest attacking Pokemon that you can use to bring down this thing's HP, and if it hits you first or if it hits you second, it's going to hurt. But luckily, because Stealth Rock brings its HP down a bit, it's actually going to be a whole lot easier because its HP isn't full, it's a little bit less than full, and you should be able to take it out. Like, my Garchomp carried this entire fight just by using Dragon Claw, so, I mean, take that as a recommendation, I guess. And that is how you can beat the Elite Four in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be making a video for the champions separately from this. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a future one. Thank you so much for watching and good luck.